shattering glass ceilings, building elevators. Why true leadership means transforming systems, not just breaking barriers. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this special presentation. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, a woman whose very existence in that role represents a seismic shift in America's power structures. As the first Black woman ever elected as New York's Attorney General, she stands as a towering figure of transformation in our justice system. But what makes Letitia James truly remarkable isn't just that she broke through barriers, it's how she's systematically dismantling those barriers for generations to come. When we think about trailblazers like Attorney General James, there's a common narrative we often embrace. We celebrate their individual determination, their personal grit, their exceptional talents. And while these qualities are certainly present in abundance in her character, our conversation revealed something far more nuanced and powerful about what it truly means to break barriers in public leadership. The surprising insight I want to share with you tonight is this: breaking barriers in public leadership is not just about personal ambition or individual achievement. It's fundamentally about transforming systems and opening doors for others. Let that sink in for a moment. Many assume trailblazers like Letitia James succeed solely through personal drive, but her journey reveals how community, mentorship, and institutional support are equally critical in challenging the status quo and creating opportunities for future generations. This perspective challenges how we typically think about success and leadership. It shifts our focus from the individual to the collective, from achievement to impact, from climbing the ladder to rebuilding it entirely. Let me share with you three key insights from my conversation with Attorney General James that illuminate this transformative approach to leadership. First, systemic change requires collective effort. Letitia James's career demonstrates that real progress happens when leaders use their positions not only to advance personally, but also to uplift communities and address systemic inequities. Throughout her career, from her early days as a public defender to her role as New York City public advocate and now as Attorney General, James has consistently leveraged her positions to create pathways for others. Second, representation matters deeply. Being the first Black woman elected as New York Attorney General wasn't just a milestone for Letitia James. It sent a message of possibility to countless others who have felt excluded from positions of power. As she often says, you can't be what you can't see. Her presence in this role doesn't just symbolize change, it actively creates it by expanding our collective imagination about who belongs in positions of power. Third, courageous leadership means taking on powerful interests. Whether holding major corporations accountable for opioid abuse or standing up against discrimination in sports and business, impactful leaders act with integrity even when facing formidable opposition. This kind of courage isn't just about personal bravery, it's about using one's platform to challenge entrenched systems that perpetuate inequality. Let me illustrate these principles through some concrete examples from Attorney General James's career. In 2018, Letitia James made history with her election as New York State Attorney General. This achievement didn't happen in isolation. It came against a backdrop of entrenched expectations about who could hold statewide office in New York, a landscape historically dominated by white men, and significant skepticism regarding her ability to enact meaningful change. Imagine for a moment what that must have felt like to face not just the normal challenges of a high profile campaign, but to carry the weight of being the first, knowing that your success or failure would be judged not just as your own, but as a referendum on whether people who look like you belong in such positions? How did she overcome these barriers? Not simply through individual determination, though that was certainly present. She built coalitions across communities, leveraged her background as public advocate, and focused on issues affecting everyday New Yorkers, like the tenant protections. She demonstrated inclusive leadership rooted in service. The outcomes of this approach have been remarkable. Her victory broke long standing barriers in state politics, and she has since led high profile cases addressing corruption and systemic fraud. But perhaps more importantly, she has inspired new generations of diverse leaders while setting legal precedents around corporate accountability. Her background provides important context for understanding her approach to leadership. Raised in Brooklyn by a family emphasizing hard work and community values, she attended Lehman College before earning her law degree from Howard University, experiences that shaped her commitment to justice. These formative influences taught her that true leadership isn't about individual advancement, but about creating opportunities for others to succeed. As Maya Angelou wisely said, when you learn, teach, when you get, give. Attorney General James embodies this philosophy in her approach to public service. Consider another powerful example of her leadership approach. Between 2020 and 2024, Letitia James led an investigation into financial mismanagement within the National Rifle Association, culminating in significant legal consequences for its former CEO. The NRA wielded considerable political influence nationally, and few believed any official could successfully challenge its practices without severe backlash. Think about the courage this required. The NRA wasn't just any organization. It was one of the most powerful lobbying groups in America with millions of devoted members and the ability to make or break political careers. Many seasoned politicians wouldn't dare challenge such an institution. Rather than shying away from this challenge, James assembled expert legal teams, prioritized transparency throughout proceedings, and engaged public support via clear communication regarding goals, focusing on restoring trust rather than partisanship. The outcome? A jury found the NRA's CEO had misused millions and ordered restitution, setting a precedent that no entity is above scrutiny, regardless of influence. This wasn't just about winning a high profile case, it was about reinforcing principles of ethical governance nationally while signaling increased protection against corruption. It demonstrated that courageous leadership isn't about seeking personal glory, but about serving the public good, even when that means confronting powerful interests. Building upon years advocating for government accountability as NYC public advocate, then AGI, James leveraged institutional knowledge gained over decades serving marginalized communities. This case exemplifies how effective leaders don't just work within systems, they transform them. A third example further illustrates this approach. In partnership with California's Attorney General during 2024, Letitia James led investigations into workplace harassment within the NFL, including claims brought forward by former female employees. This effort addressed gender discrimination at one of America's largest sports organizations. The NFL had long resisted external oversight concerning internal culture issues involving race and gender equity. James initiated a joint multi state inquiry focused on gathering testimony confidentially while safeguarding whistleblowers' identities. The investigation prompted organizational reforms, including revised HR protocols aimed at preventing future harassment and discrimination incidents. What's particularly striking about these examples is how they highlight a different model of leadership, one focused not on individual achievement, but on systemic transformation. This approach aligns perfectly with the mission of the Pink Parachute Diaries, where we celebrate Black women who are making waves in their respective fields while challenging systems that have historically undervalued their contributions. As we witness in corporate America, talented Black women are too often handed pink slips while underperforming men receive golden parachutes. Leaders like Letitia James show us a different path forward, one where those who break barriers use their positions to create more equitable systems for everyone. This brings me to an important affirmation for everyone here tonight. Your success is not measured solely by your individual achievements, but by how many doors you open for others. As you climb, build elevators. As you advance, create pathways. As you succeed, transform systems. The poet Audre Lorde reminds us that without community, there is no liberation. Attorney General James's career exemplifies this truth. Her success isn't just about personal accomplishment, it's about community uplift, systemic change, and creating opportunities for others to follow. So, what does this mean for each of us? How can we apply these insights in our own lives and work? First, recognize that true leadership isn't about individual achievement, but about collective advancement. Ask yourself not just how can I succeed, but how can my success create opportunities for others? Second, understand that representation matters not just symbolically, but substantively. When people from underrepresented groups attain positions of influence, they bring perspectives and priorities that can transform institutions from within. Third, have the courage to challenge powerful interests and entrenched systems. Real change often requires confronting the status quo, even when doing so involves personal risk. As we navigate professional spaces, these principles are especially relevant. The challenges we face aren't just personal hurdles, they're systemic barriers. And our successes aren't just individual achievements, they are collective victories that create possibilities for others. The story of Letitia James teaches us that breaking barriers isn't the end goal, it's the beginning of a larger process of transformation. When we break through glass ceilings, our responsibility isn't just to enjoy the view, but to clear away the remaining shards so others can follow more safely. I want to leave you with this challenge. Tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what system am I willing to disrupt today? Because systems don't change themselves. People change systems. People like Letitia James, people like you. If you find yourself in a room where you're the only one who looks like you, don't just celebrate breaking that barrier. Ask why the barrier existed in the first place. Then work to tear it down completely. In the words of Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I would add, once you're at the table, make room for others. Better yet, build a bigger table. The true measure of transformative leadership isn't just breaking barriers for yourself, it's building bridges for others. It's not just about making history, it's about changing the future. Thank you.